Ever have one of those days where you look at the clock, realize it's 5 p.m., and think, what did I actually do today? You know the feeling. You were busy every single second. You were on from the moment you woke up. But when you look at your actual output, it feels like you accomplished absolutely nothing. It's frustrating, isn't it?
Why is it so hard to just sit down and focus? Why do you feel that compulsive need to check your email every 5 minutes, even when you know nothing important has come in? Or that brain fog that settles in after you've spent 20 minutes doom scrolling through social media, leaving you with a low-grade hum of anxiety and a to-do list that somehow keeps getting longer?
It's like you're on a hamster wheel. You're running as fast as you can, sweating, exhausting yourself, but you aren't actually going anywhere. Here is the hard truth, and it's the central premise of the book we're diving into today, Deep Work by Cal Newport. In a world that is meticulously designed to distract you, your ability to focus is broken.
It's broken because the world has changed, but your brain hasn't caught up. Welcome to The Last Read, books for your ears, wisdom for your life. Today, we are unlocking what Cal Newport calls the superpower of the 21st century. It's a skill that is becoming increasingly rare at the exact same time it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. And because of that scarcity, this secret is what separates the successful elite, the ones who master hard things quickly and produce at an elite level, from the distracted masses who are just spinning their wheels.
We aren't just going to talk about focus in the abstract. By the end of this episode, you will have the blueprint to double your productivity in half the time. You will have the specific tools to stop just being busy and start actually producing value.
Now, if you want to master this skill, the link to the hard book is at the description. I highly recommend picking it up so you can mark it up and make it your own. And of course, make sure you subscribe now so you don't miss out on future wisdom. But to understand why this method works, we have to look at the man behind it. And he is not your typical productivity guru.
He is not your typical productivity guru. See, Cal Newport isn't a life coach living in a cabin in the woods. He is a full-time computer science professor at Georgetown University. This is a guy who spends his days writing code and publishing complex academic papers on distributed algorithms. He is a legitimate scientist, operating right in the belly of the beast of the digital age. And yet, here is the part that usually breaks people's brains. Cal Newport has never had a social media account. No Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, no TikTok.
If you search for him on those platforms, you'll find nothing. He is effectively a digital ghost. Now, you might think that would make him irrelevant in our hyper-connected world, but the reality is the exact opposite. While the rest of us are doom-scrolling and double-tapping, Newport is out there producing an insane amount of high-level work. He has written 8 books, including multiple New York Times bestsellers, all while earning tenure at a prestigious university and publishing over 60 peer-reviewed academic papers.
He isn't just theorizing that focus matters. He is the living proof. So when he tells us that we are drowning in distraction, he isn't speaking as a Luddite who hates technology. He is speaking as a computer scientist who understands exactly how these tools are designed to hijack our attention. And he has the data to show what happens when you refuse to play their game. He treats productivity not as a philosophy, but as a physics problem. And that scientific approach is exactly what leads us to the core concept of this book, the battle between the two types of work that define our days.
The battle between the two types of work that define our days: deep work and shallow work. Now, Newport is very specific about how he defines these, and the definitions matter because most of us get them wrong. First, you have deep work. This is the heavy lifting. Newport defines it as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. This isn't just working hard. This is working at the edge of your mental ability. Think of a developer trying to hold a complex algorithm in their head, or a writer trying to structure a difficult chapter. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and crucially, they are hard to replicate. Then, you have shallow work. This is the stuff that fills up our calendars. Non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks, often performed while distracted. answering emails, checking Slack, formatting a report, scheduling meetings. Newport argues that these efforts do not create much new value in the world and are very easy to replicate.
Think of your workday like an iceberg. Above the water, you have the shallow work. It's highly visible. Everyone sees you sending those emails. They see you active on the messaging apps. It feels productive because it's right there in front of you. It's easy to see, and honestly, it's easy to do. But the massive bulk of the iceberg, the part that actually sinks ships and changes landscapes, that's hidden underwater. That is deep work. It's invisible to the outside world while you're doing it, but it's where the actual weight and substance of your career lives. Here is the core conflict that Newport identifies. Our economy is shifting. It is increasingly rewarding the people who can go deep, the people who can master hard things quickly and produce at an elite level. The hidden part of the iceberg is becoming more valuable every single day.
But, and this is the trap, our modern work culture pushes us constantly toward the surface. We are nudged toward the shallow end by the constant ping of notifications and the expectation of instant responsiveness. We prioritize the visible busy work over the invisible deep work because it feels safer. You might be thinking, okay, so I'll just do both. I'll switch back and forth. I'll write code for 10 minutes, check an email, and then go back to coding. It sounds like a perfect compromise, but Newport looks at the neuroscience, and he has bad news. It turns out, your brain doesn't work like a light switch. You can't just snap deeply into focus and then snap out of it without a cost. There is a mechanical flaw in the way our brains process transitions, a flaw that makes that quick check of your inbox much more damaging than you think.
Mechanical flaw in the way our brains process transitions, a flaw that makes that quick check of your inbox much more damaging than you think. Newport introduces us to a concept called attention residue. This term actually comes from a business professor named Sophie Leroy, and here is what she found. When you switch from task A to task B, your attention doesn't immediately follow you. It doesn't just snap over. A residue of your attention remains stuck thinking about the original task. Let's put this into a real-world scenario. Imagine you're deep in a project. Maybe you're writing a report or analyzing data. You hit a tiny mental snag, so you decide to just check your email. You look at your inbox for maybe 30 seconds. You see a message from your boss or a request from a client. You don't even answer it. You just see it, tell yourself, I'll deal with that later, and you switch back to your main project.
It feels harmless, right? It was only 30 seconds. But here's the kicker. Newport explains that even though your eyes are back on your project, your brain is not. A huge chunk of your cognitive resources is still effectively processing that email. You are now trying to do difficult, deep work with only a fraction of your mental capacity. The research suggests that it can take around 20 minutes for that residue to clear and for your brain to fully re-engage with the task at hand. 20 minutes, just because you glanced at an inbox for 30 seconds. Think of your attention like a bucket of water. Your cognitive capacity, your ability to solve problems and think clearly, is the water inside that bucket. Every time you do a just check, every time a notification pings you, it punches a hole in the bottom of that bucket.
You might think you're multitasking. You might feel incredibly busy because you're bouncing between Slack, email, and your work. But in reality, you are just walking around with a leaky bucket. You're working harder and harder to keep it full, but the water is draining out faster than you can pour it in. This is why you can spend 8 hours at your desk, feeling absolutely exhausted by 5 p.m., but looking back and realizing, I didn't actually get anything done. You weren't lazy, you were just working with a leaky bucket. You were suffering from attention residue. So, if the modern workplace is designed to punch holes in our buckets, and if our brains physically cannot handle the constant switching, what is the solution? We can't just quit our jobs and move to a cabin in the woods. Well, actually, some people do. But for the rest of us, Newport argues we need a strategy. We need a philosophy for how to integrate this deep work into a normal, distracted life. And he outlines 4 very different ways to do it.
Newport calls these the depth philosophies. And this is really the practical meat of the book. He argues that you don't just try harder to focus. You have to choose a specific scheduling philosophy that fits your reality. He outlines 4 of them. And I love these because they range from totally impossible for normal people to something you can do tomorrow. First, you have the monastic philosophy. This is the most extreme version. It is exactly what it sounds like. You eliminate almost all shallow obligations, you cut yourself off from the world, and you focus on one high-level goal. The example Newport uses here is the science fiction writer Neal Stephenson. Stephenson is famous for not having an email address. He actually wrote an essay explaining why, basically saying, look, I can either write good novels or I can answer your emails. I can't do both. So the monastic approach is about total isolation. No email, no meetings, no Slack. Now, for 99% of us, this is a great way to get fired. So let's move on.
The second approach is the bimodal philosophy. This is for people who can't disappear forever, but can disappear for a while. You divide your time into two clearly defined modes. In one mode, you act like a monk, totally cut off. In the other mode, you are hyper-connected and available. The hero of this method is the psychologist Carl Jung. Jung had a busy clinical practice in Zurich where he saw patients and lectured. That was his connected mode. But he also built a stone tower in the woods, literally a retreat without electricity or running water, where he would go for weeks at a time to write and think deeply. He didn't mix the two. He didn't answer emails from his tower. He was either all in on the world or all in on the work. Then we have the third option, and this is the one Newport suggests is best for most office workers. It's called the rhythmic philosophy. The goal here isn't to disappear for weeks, it's to build a rock-solid daily habit. You take the decision-making out of it. The famous example here is the comedian Jerry Seinfeld. When a young comic asked him how to get better, Seinfeld said the only way to write better jokes is to write every day. He used a calendar and a red marker. Every day he wrote a joke, he put a big red X on that day. His only goal was, don't break the chain. This is the rhythmic philosophy. You schedule a specific time every single day, maybe 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., and you just show up. You don't wait for inspiration, you let the rhythm do the work.
Finally, there's the journalistic philosophy. This is the hardest one to pull off. It requires you to switch into deep work mode at a moment's notice, whenever you have free time. Newport points to the journalist Walter Isaacson. Isaacson wrote a massive 900-page book called The Wise Men while he was working a full-time, high-pressure job as a magazine editor. He would find 20 minutes while waiting for a meeting or an hour on a Sunday morning, and he would immediately go deep. He didn't need a warm-up ritual. He could just turn it on. But Newport warns us, this is cognitive weightlifting. If you aren't practiced at this, you'll just end up staring at the screen for 20 minutes. So, those are your four choices: monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, or journalistic. The tragedy, according to Newport, is that most people fail because they pick the wrong one. They try to be monastic when they have a boss who expects a reply in 10 minutes, or they try to be journalistic when they haven't actually trained their focus muscle yet. You have to be honest about your lifestyle. But even if you pick the perfect schedule, even if you carve out those 2 hours every morning, there is still one major obstacle standing in your way. It's something you probably do 20 times a day without even realizing it. It happens when you're standing in line at the grocery store or waiting for a friend at a bar. What is the first thing you do? You pull out your phone. Newport says this reflex is actually destroying your brain's ability to go deep, and the solution he proposes is a rule that sounds terrifying to the modern mind.
Embrace boredom. That's the rule. And I don't mean tolerate boredom, I mean you have to actively seek it out. Newport argues that if you whip out your phone every single time you have a spare moment, waiting in line at the grocery store, sitting in traffic, waiting for your date to show up at a restaurant, you aren't just passing time, you are effectively rewiring your brain. There was a famous study by the late Clifford Nass, a professor at Stanford, who looked at people who were chronic multitaskers, the kind of people who were always connected, always clicking, always checking. He assumed these people would be great at filtering information because they do it all the time. But he was wrong. He found that they were, in his words, mental wrecks. They couldn't filter out irrelevancy, they couldn't manage their working memory, and crucially, they couldn't just switch off that distracted mode when they wanted to focus.
See, a lot of us think of focus like a light switch. We think we can spend all day on TikTok and Slack, and then, when it's time to work, we can just flip the switch and go deep. Newport says, no, that is not how the brain works. If every moment of potential boredom in your life is relieved by a quick glance at a screen, your brain loses the ability to tolerate any lack of stimuli. You are training your brain to crave distraction the same way a dog craves a treat. So, here is the counterintuitive solution, the weightlifting for your focus muscle, if you will. You have to practice being bored.
The next time you are standing in line at the grocery store and the person in front of you is arguing about a coupon, do not touch your pocket. Do not look at your phone. Just stand there. Be bored. Let your mind wander. It will feel uncomfortable. You will feel that itch to check a notification. But resisting that itch is the exercise. That is the bicep curl for your brain. Because if you can't sit alone with your thoughts for 5 minutes in a checkout line, you certainly won't be able to write that book or solve that complex coding problem when it really counts. But retraining your brain is only half the battle. Once you've strengthened that mental muscle, you have to make a hard decision about the tools you're using to distract yourself in the first place. You have to ask yourself, do I really need these apps at all? And that leads us to a very controversial question. How do you decide what stays on your phone and what gets deleted forever?
How do you decide what stays on your phone and what gets deleted forever? Most of us fall into a trap Cal calls the any benefit mindset. It sounds like this. Well, I should keep Facebook because I might miss a birthday invite. Or, I need Twitter because sometimes there's a funny joke I can share with my brother. The logic here is that if a tool offers any benefit at all, no matter how small, you justify keeping it. You ignore the massive cost it extracts in terms of your time and attention. Newport argues that this is amateur thinking. If you want to operate at an elite level, you need to adopt the craftsman approach to tool selection.
Think about a master carpenter or a farmer. Cal shares this great example of a farmer deciding whether to buy a hay baler. Now, a hay baler is a fantastic piece of technology. It bales hay. It's shiny, it works. But a smart farmer doesn't just buy it because, hey, it bales hay. He looks at his bottom line. He calculates the cost of the fuel, the maintenance, the storage, and he realizes that for his specific farm, it's actually cheaper and more efficient to just buy the hay already baled. So he doesn't buy the machine. He isn't anti-technology. He isn't a Luddite. He's a pro. He only adopts a tool if the positives heavily outweigh the negatives for his specific, wildly important goals.
So, here is your challenge. Look at your phone. Identify the 2 or 3 most important goals in your life right now. Maybe it's become a senior developer or write my novel. Then, go through every single app. Ask yourself, does this app have a substantial, positive impact on my ability to write my novel? If the answer is no, or even maybe a little bit, delete it. Be ruthless. If it's not helping you build the table, it doesn't belong in your toolbox. Now, once you've done this, you're going to find yourself with a lot less noise and a lot more time. But simply having free time isn't enough. If you don't manage that time correctly, it will just evaporate again. You need a system to ensure that every hour you just reclaimed has a specific purpose. You need to stop letting your day happen to you and start treating your time like a strict financial budget.
Treat your time like a strict financial budget. And that brings us to one of Newport's most radical yet effective strategies. He calls it fixed schedule productivity. Now, usually when we feel overwhelmed, our instinct is to throw more hours at the problem. We stay late at the office, we work on weekends, we answer emails during dinner. But Newport argues that this is actually lazy planning. Instead, he suggests you set a hard, non-negotiable stop time for your workday. For Cal Newport personally, that time is 5:30 p.m. No matter what is happening, at 5:30, the laptop closes. I know what you're thinking. I can't do that. I have too much work. But here's the magic trick. When you know with absolute certainty that you cannot work past 5:30 p.m., you suddenly become ruthless with your time during the day. You stop saying yes to useless meetings. You stop chatting by the water cooler for 30 minutes. You stop doom scrolling. Because you realize that every minute you waste now is a minute you can't make up later. The scarcity of time forces you to become hyper-efficient.
But how do you actually manage those hours before 5:30? You don't do it with a to-do list. Newport actually hates to-do lists. He thinks they are reactive. They're just a menu of things you could do without any context of when you'll do them. Instead, he advocates for time blocking. This is a simple, analog habit. Every morning, you sit down with a piece of paper or a notebook. You lay out your hours, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and you assign a specific task to every single block. From 9 to 11, you are coding that feature. From 11 to 11:30, you are answering emails. From 12 to 1, you are eating lunch away from your desk.
You are giving every single minute of your day a job. If you don't assign the time a job, I promise you, distraction will assign it one for you. Twitter will steal 15 minutes here, a coworker will steal 20 minutes there, and suddenly it's 5 p.m. and you haven't done the deep work. Think of it this way. You wouldn't walk down the street with your wallet open, letting strangers grab $20 bills out of it, would you? Of course not. You budget your money. So why do we walk through our days letting distractions grab our hours? Spend your time as carefully as you spend your money. Now, if you actually do this, if you quit the shallow apps, curate your tools, set a fixed schedule, and block your time, something shifts. You stop being a busy person and you start being a focused person. And in our current economy, that shift is worth its weight in gold. It transforms you from a worker bee into something much more powerful, something that is becoming dangerously rare.
Something that is becoming dangerously rare. It is, to use Cal Newport's favorite phrase, the superpower of the 21st century. You see, in this distracted, notification-heavy world we live in, the ability to focus isn't just a nice-to-have soft skill anymore. It is the differentiator. You could almost say that focus is the new IQ. Because the person who can sit down, block out the noise, and go deep for 4 hours, that person is the king. That person can learn hard things quickly. That person produces the work that actually matters, while everyone else is just busy replying to emails.
Now, I won't lie to you. This is a hard skill to build. Your brain will fight you. The world will fight you. Every app on your phone is engineered to stop you from doing this. But if you can win that war, the rewards are massive. We're talking about faster career growth, true mastery of your craft, and ironically, more free time, because you're not working 12 hours of distracted, shallow nonsense.
It's about more than just productivity. It's about living what Newport calls the deep life, a life that is rich, satisfying, and full of meaning. If you want to dive deeper into these strategies, and I highly recommend you do, the link to the hard copy of the book is right there in the description. Pick it up. It might just change the way you work forever. Thank you for listening to The Last Read. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've got another incredible book lined up for the next episode. Until then, turn off the notifications, block your time, and go deep.